I've spoken to a few people that I consider to be great speakers. And from what they've said, I've kind of come up with the 6 things great speakers do. The 6 things great speakers do. Remember that in the beginning of this particular course, I told you something. It's not the amount of information you have that's going to make you successful. It's the amount of information you have that you then go on to practice with that's going to make you a great speaker. Okay. So, let's please consider hearing this stuff, embracing them, and then go ahead and put it into practice. You've got to put it into practice. Public speaking is never about just reading books. It's never about just listening to good lectures, good videos like mine, okay? It's never just about that. It's about practicing what's been said, okay? You're gonna gain value from the practice of what you do, not so much from listening only. So I'm gonna give you these 6 things that great speakers all do. So it says public speaking exercises that will change you into a great speaker forever, hopefully, okay? Right. Number 1 is practice speaking in front of the mirror, in front of your mirror. And we talked about this earlier on in one of our lectures. We talked about practice in front of the mirror. One of the things that will alarm you when you begin to practice in front of the mirror or film yourself is you're going to discover the kind of things you do when you're nervous. Some people kind of touch their hair, some people touch their hands, some people scratch their feet, some people scratch their elbows, some people just pull their ears, some people, it will amaze you what you do when you get nervous. And by seeing yourself do those things, great speakers, what they do is they film themselves, they practice for the mirror, they get people to critique them, and through all that, they adjust their mannerisms. So what you want to do is adjust your mannerisms so that you begin to appear much more confident as opposed to much more nervous. So all great speakers, before they go on to speak, they practice their speech in front of the mirror, and you and I have got to do that. The second thing great speakers do is they practice what I call impromptu speeches. By that I mean that if you just get a friend to write down, ask a friend, a family member to write down random topics on little bits of paper and just choose one and just give a speech on that subject for about 5 minutes. That helps you to think on your feet. Great speakers are always able to think on their feet, and it comes by practice. Oh, I wish I could say this so many times. Public speaking, being great at public speaking comes by practice. It doesn't come because you're automatically born with it. It comes because it's a skill like driving. You learn to drive and then you drive better, hopefully. That's what it's all about. So, if somebody writes just some random, they could write about, space or air balloon or, the kind of subjects that you and I may not talk about that much. I don't know whether you do, but I don't. But, just think about giving a speech on any subject. Make it up as you go along. Tell a story. Make up a story as you go along because it'll help you to think on your feet. And all great speakers are able to do that. They're able to think on their feet. And practicing with impromptu speeches will definitely help you. Number 3 in this particular lecture is to develop your speech writing skills. So what I mean by that is simple. Every speech you give should have 3 parts to it. Number 1 is the introduction, all right? Then the content or the concept you want to pass across, and then finally your conclusion. So you should have a beginning, a middle, and an end to whatever speech you give, whether it's on a topic or it's on a lecture or whatever it is. It's got to have a beginning, middle, and end to it. So I remember one particular lecture that I gave, and I forgot to put the end to it. And one of my students wrote me back and said, "Oh, Bumi, there was no conclusion." So I thought, "Oh my goodness, this is actually practice what I preach." So I went back and put in the conclusion in that particular lecture. Okay, so think about that. Let's all work on having beginnings as an introduction, the middle, the concept, pack it up with all the information you want to give, and then conclude. So all speeches, all great speakers, you would notice